If you're like me, you've heard that rental properties are one of the best passive investments out there. But are they really? Before you think about going out and purchasing your next rental property, you need to watch this video. Hey guys, it's Jeff with Student of Money, where we do videos just like this one to help you achieve your goals of personal financial freedom. So if you're new, please hit subscribe and join our community of like-minded individuals. Now on to this week's video. So first of all, I need to start this video off with a disclaimer, okay? I love real estate. I think it's one of the best vehicles out there as an investment to build your wealth. That being said, there's also a lot of downsides to real estate that you really don't find out until you get into it. The first problem with real estate is you need a lot of money to buy real estate. Typically, you need 20% or more to even purchase real estate. So if it's a $100,000 property, you have to have $20,000 in cash in order to even purchase the property. Now there's ways around that, and we'll discuss it in a lot of my other videos. But first of all, you need to understand that if you're going to get into the real estate game, cash is king, and you have to have money to purchase the properties. Along with the requirement of having money to buy that first property, if you put everything you own into that first property, then you're not going to have any money for the second, third, fourth, fifth property to actually grow the portfolio. So typically they'll tell you that you buy the first property, you let the equity in that property increase, you refinance, pull that equity back out, and then go out there and buy your second property and then start it all over again. Let the equity build, refinance, cash out, buy your third property, and so on and so on and so on. The problem is with that is that takes a really long time to do. And when I say a long time, there's been times where I've purchased a property 5-10 years later, the banks won't allow me to pull that equity out in cash, depending on what's going on with the market at that particular point in time. So you're really being held hostage by the banks and the lenders and the appraisals on whether or not they feel comfortable refinancing that property for you. The second problem with real estate is you have to buy real estate right. If you buy a property overpriced, or maybe it's just a poor performing property that you paid too much for, then all of a sudden that asset that you wanted to have passive residual income now becomes a huge liability that you're financially responsible for and you own. That means you have to continue to pay the mortgage, pay the property taxes, pay the insurance, and then you may have to hire a management company. You may have to do evictions. So you have to buy a property right and make your money with the cash flow. You know, there's a saying that we say is you make your money on the purchase, not on the sell. So you have to buy real estate right, and you have to buy a good property. So I've seen a lot of people fail in real estate because they've purchased properties either overpriced or it just was a bad property that they should have bypassed, and maybe they got too emotional into it. They didn't do their research, they didn't do the numbers, they didn't really know what they were getting into, and they got in over their heads. I've had banks tell me that I bought too much property too fast, which I thought was kind of funny, that a bank is telling me that it's a problem that I'm buying too much real estate too fast. I didn't think it was a problem at the time, but now I kind of know what they're talking about. If you're not experienced and if you don't have a system in place in order to take care of this property, you're really strapping yourself and your resources, which may be a problem down the line. And again, that asset can turn into a liability relatively quickly. The fourth problem with rental real estate is, in all honesty, it's a people business. Right? Your customers are your tenants, they're people, and they live in this property. It's their primary residence. And that's a huge responsibility. And a lot of times when people are involved, things don't go as planned or as scheduled. You could have evictions. You know, a lot of landlords complain about the whole fixing toilets and water, being on call 24/7. What do you do when there's a slip and fall? So even if you hire an outside management company to manage your property, you as the owner are responsible legally, liably, financially with anything that happens on or around or having to do with that property. So you need to be prepared, whether it's you can cover yourself through insurance, you can cover yourself by having management companies, But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're the owner of that property. You're responsible financially for anything that occurs or happens on that property. If you're not prepared to go to court, if you're not prepared to hire an attorney or to hire a property management company, it's going to be a huge drag on your resources, your time, and your commitment, and you need to be prepared to take on those responsibilities if you're going to become a landlord and if you're going to buy a rental property where you're an active participant in the management and ownership of that property. So the key with any real estate investment is you're either going to manage it yourself or you're going to hire a property management, in which case you're going to be an active participant in management of that property. Or you go out and entrust that management to another party where you're truly just a non-recourse passive investor. And I've seen people do both, and there's been success in both. You just have to decide before you buy that property which way you're going to go. Do you want to be active and be financially liable for everything that happens? Or do you want true non-recourse where you put your faith in a property manager to run that property for you and it's a true passive investment? So before you go out and purchase your next investment property, you need to decide, am I going to be an active investor or am I going to be a passive investor, and what that really means to you. So that concludes this week's video. And if you haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe and join our community of like-minded individuals. And I'll see you next week on Student of Money.